Welcome to the Dealing with Goliath podcast. The mission of Dealing with Goliath is to sharpen the psychological edge in negotiation, ethical influencing, and high impact conversations for business leaders who want to be more effective under pressure, uncover hidden value, and build greater connection, all while increasing profitability. With expert guests across the business spectrum, we deliver gems of wisdom delving into their methods, their thinking, and approach to business life, to problem solving. This is the short form espresso shot of insight podcast interview to boost business performance using our 5 questions in about 15 minutes format. My guest today is John Nieuwenburg. John is an award-winning business coach who's worked with hundreds of clients. As there are almost as many different ways of delivering business coaching as there are business coaches, John coaches in 3 primary areas. First of all, business, getting things done using proven tools, strategies, and techniques to grow your business. The second, personal growth, working with you in decision-making, leadership, delegation, and time management skills. And thirdly, accountability, helping you stay accountable for the results you have chosen that up until now may have just been a dream. So John helps his clients get there. It's outstanding. In an earlier life, John was the managing director of the BC Liqueur Stores that now does $3 billion in revenue with a net income of $1 billion. Wowzers. Before that, he was an executive with the national menswear retailer. Excellent stuff. John, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, just to pick apart some of the really interesting short bio there on you, just to clarify, who is your ideal client and what's the biggest challenge that they face?
I have 2 kinds of ideal clients. They're, on one hand, they're professional advisors, so they're accountants and lawyers and health practitioners, coaches, realtors. We all provide professional advice. The advice, of course, is different. The challenges those businesses and business owners face are often similar. And the other kind of client is people in a trade or a craft. Again, they're electricians and plumbers and that kind of thing. And again, they have the same kind of problems. They're very skilled in their craft, they're skilled in their profession, but not very good in business.
Okay,
typically they're challenged around time, team, or money. So they're often saying things like, I've got too much to do and not enough time to do it. I can't get everything done. If I don't do it, it won't get done. When it comes to team, hiring, recruiting is very difficult these days globally. But it's also difficult to get, the culture in the business you want and getting people to do the work at the level, at the quality you need. And then money has got 2 components to it. One side of money is the accounting, financials, reporting, cash flow. And the other side of money is I need more money. I need better sales and marketing.
Excellent stuff. So you're covering time, team, and money. It does cover a huge amount of, as you said, some of those stressors that business people who, it sounds like you're dealing with a lot of people who are probably expert in what they do, but as you said, not experienced or knowledgeable quite enough about the mechanisms of doing business, the business itself. So what are some of the common mistakes that people make when they're trying to solve that problem, to get better in those areas?
Well, that they run out of ideas about how or what needs to change. So they're often, I use a metaphor here, a hub and spoke manager. So they're the hub of the wheel and nothing happens in their business unless something goes through their brain or receives a set of instructions. And so generally, they're not very good at delegating. They often think of delegating. What they actually do is abdicate, or they micromanage. One of those 2 kinds of extremes. And so they often, in any of these challenges, they often get to a place where they hit a wall of whatever their capabilities have been, and they don't know what to do differently. And so they just go like, a hamster on a wheel, and they just, can I go any faster? And even that has a limit.
Absolutely, and leads to overwhelm, I'd imagine. A lot of discomfort. One of the things I particularly enjoyed on your website and on your blog was that you tend to start with the individual. You tend to start with the person doing the business, not just, as I said, giving people tactics immediately. You start with the person. Can you tell us why you take that approach?
Well, there's a bunch of different things, but what is the purpose of a small business? So the reason the purpose for a small business that I'm going to offer you isn't the same if it's a $50, $100 million business, lots more complexities and stakeholders and so forth. But for the average small business owner, the purpose of that business is to give its owner the life they want.
Right.
And so nobody was born to business. We were born to live. And business owners often get that mixed up, and their business takes over their life and they have no life left. So there's a couple of things about it. There's a hidden secret here, Al, that almost all business problems are personal problems in disguise. Or
I
put a
couldn't
different
agree
way,
more.
yeah, if the owner wants a better business, first the business needs a better owner. And
It's a
that's
beautiful
typically,
point. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so typically it's about systems, tools, and strategies, but often, as much as anything, it's about skills and leadership, communication, delegation. And it's also about mindset, the shift in mindset that's required to go from, feeling like you're the only guy who can operate the toolbox to how do I get to be in the captain's chair and lead the enterprise rather than doing more of whatever the craft or the profession I have.
Absolutely. And I love that because, as you say, so often people are essentially they're maybe the business owner, but they essentially just have another job.
And that's very much the case. They have a job in the business with their name on it.
Exactly. Exactly. So with that in mind, so what might be one valuable free action that you could recommend to an audience to implement that will help them get on the right path?
I've yet to work with a business owner that isn't able to find 5 to 7 hours worth of work they do routinely in their week they shouldn't be doing. And so the way to find that is there's two easy ways to do that. One is to keep a diary for a week in increments of about 15 minutes of what you're doing with your time.
Mm.
And the point of this exercise is to, at the end of the week, you'll identify where do I create the most value? Where am I generating $300, $400, $500 an hour? And where am I doing work that someone else will do better than me, more qualified than me, and they'll happily do it, often overseas for $10 or $15 an hour. So that'd be step one. Or step two, the other way, there's a hack. If you don't have the will or discipline to do the survey, is just anytime you go, oh crap, I need to do X, that's your clue.
Absolutely. I love it. It's that idea of, what hat am I wearing? Is it I'm doing $10 an hour work? Is it $500 an hour? Is it somewhere in the middle? Yeah,
Yeah,
if it's lower down that list, pass it over to someone who will
pass it
enjoy
over.
doing it. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And with the way the internet works now and Zoom, you can find VAs everywhere that are very, very qualified. And typically nowadays we get arbitrage in two ways. One, we get the most qualified people in their respective country, and we get arbitrage in the form that $10 an hour for someone in the Philippines, as an example, or in South America is meaningful income. It's,
absolutely. You're
the
given
example,
doctor salaries like in
yeah,
their country. Yeah,
the average income in the Philippines is $5,000 US. If you're paying someone $10 an hour, 2,000 hours is a standard year, that person's making 20 grand. That's
yeah,
handsome income, right? And so we often get sort of hung up. How can I get someone who's any good? Well, they'll often have university degrees. They're very qualified to do. You need someone to help you with doing construction estimating. I'll find you a civil engineer. Don't know what to do.
absolutely, absolutely. And the second, much smaller bonus is also the time that you can set a task as you're finishing work. And when you
Yeah,
wake up the
exactly.
next morning, you have the equivalent of a
Yeah,
day's work handed to you. Yeah.
exactly. When I first hired, just as a kind of a tip here, when I first hired my VA, Noemi, she gave me a wonderful surprise. So I asked her to do something, and we had a Zoom meeting. And within 30 minutes of the end of the call, she sent me an SOP, a standard operating procedure of
I love it.
everything I asked her to do. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. And what I learned from that is the person doing the work ought to be the one who writes the SOP, right? So you don't even have to write the SOP because those are tedious things to do. And why do they do that? Well, first of all, they've demonstrated they understand exactly what's required. The SOP is written so well, I could give this to any reasonable person anywhere in the world and they'd be able to duplicate the work. And so that's one of the great things that I learned from having a VA is they write the SOP based on, a Zoom recording or some kind of set of instructions. And so the the worry most business owners have that the work won't get done at the level you need is absolutely overcome. I was going to say something else, but that shouldn't be a bother for you because you can get a perfect reflection. It's how do they, as I often say, how do they get those French fries to taste the same
Right.
anywhere in the world? And the fries are made by a 16-year-old, and the parents of that person, 16-year-old, can't get him or her to clean their bedroom.
Right.
How do they do that?
It's the SOP, yes. Simple
Exactly. We have a
steps.
recipe. This is how we do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's as you say, it's more, but it also means that it's unlikely people can miss or skip steps by
Exactly.
accident, so that you're
Yeah,
fully covered in that benefits of a checklist idea. Absolutely.
absolutely. Well, then, sometimes people kind of object to getting that systematic or think that, they're kind of above it or they don't need it. But let me ask you something. Would you get on an airplane if you knew the pilot didn't do the pre-flight checklist?
Absolutely not. Yeah.
And that pilot is making what, two, three, $400,000, very capable, very well trained, very skilled, very intelligent, and yet the human mind isn't good at doing repetitive, tedious kinds of things. And so we need the support of a checklist or an SOP. And so, in fact, I'm sure none of us would ever want to be operated on by a surgeon who didn't do the pre-surgery checklist. Like, let's just check, make sure we got, or, I started with 30 scalpels. Let's make sure we still have 30 left at the end of this thing.
Absolutely. There's a great book there a few years ago called Checklist, and it was about one of the examples was a London Children's Hospital and how they
Yeah.
implemented the checklist system in the surgery room, and healing times improved, mistakes
Yeah.
dropped through the floor,
Oh,
everything got better.
that book
So
is called the Checklist Manifesto, and it's
Checklist
like
Manifesto, well remembered.
you'll go one day. And if there's anything you do or any of your listeners do, read that book.
It's a great
It,
recommendation. I can second that.
uh,
So, what along those lines, what might be one valuable free resource that you can direct people to that will help them again with this trajectory, with this change?
I probably have at least 300 blog posts. And what we've done is organize them around a hub or around themes of, and so there's a hub post on all the blog posts that have to do with how to manage your time and productivity. So if there's any place that you go that says, how can I get better about managing my time or being more productive or having better delegation skills? There's 4 hub pages there, but one of them focuses on time management and productivity.
Outstanding. And that's the w5coaching.com/blog.
Perfect. Yeah.
Excellent. And I'll of course link to that beneath this
Thank you.
episode. But that's an excellent. I have had a look through it, and it is a wealth of value there. I'd recommend everyone get on there, bookmark it, and just keep returning to it on a regular basis and think about it, implement some of these points, and of course, reach out to John if you're ready to do that, because
Thank you.
the information and the knowledge and the expertise is quite superb. So with that in mind, John, what's the one question I should have asked you that would be of great value for our audience?
That a business can be built on, I'm going to use a metaphor of a 3-legged stool. So the first of the 3 legs is this philosophy of systems run your business, people run your systems, you lead your people. So that's leg 1. So we've already talked, how do they get those French fries? They have great systems, right? So if people run your business, then as people come and go, your business falls and rises on the quality of the people. If systems run your business, people can come and go, but the business is stable. So that's leg 1. Leg 2 is systematize the routine, humanize the exception. So about 85% of what happens in a business ought to be routine. We just do it. This is how we do it every day. This is what we do. But in my example, one day we run out of potatoes. Oh no, what are we going to do? Well, now I got to go find a manager and they're going to help me out with that. And then the third leg of the stool is never look for a people solution, look for a system solution. And so again, in this case where I run out of potatoes, what would the system have to be? So if that were ever to happen again, we'd have a system, we'd have a standard way of a methodology that we would employ to handle the circumstance of running out of potatoes. So systems run your business, people run your systems, you lead your people. Systematize the routine, humanize the exception. And the third one is always look for a system solution, never a people solution. What would the system have to be?
Outstanding. That's brilliant advice for everyone out there. As you said, I love the structure as well. As you see, you can see how it all holds together.
Yeah.
Although easier said than done.
Well, that's right. It's simple in description, but hard in execution. And Al, the thing about what I do is you can find this information on Google, the internet. The hard part is, how do I make this happen? And of course, that's how a coach could help you out.
Absolutely. That's the implementation part, making it into
Exactly.
reality consistently,
Yeah.
being the key word. Well, thank you so much, John. That was a fascinating conversation.
Pleasure.
It's been brilliant to have you on the show. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.